The heiress who vanished, her return changed everything. Part 1, The Night Everything Shattered. The perfect evening begins. The crystal chandeliers of the Grand Riverside Hotel sparkled like 1,000 stars above Elena Hartwell's head. She stood in the center of the ballroom, wearing an elegant emerald gown that matched her eyes, watching guests arrive for her engagement party. Everything looked perfect. The flowers were white roses and peonies, her favorite. The champagne flowed freely. The string quartet played soft romantic melodies that made everyone smile. Elena was 28 years old, the only daughter of the late Robert Hartwell, founder of Hartwell Industries. After her father passed away 2 years ago, she became the sole owner of one of the most successful architecture and design companies in the country. She was not just an heiress living off her family money. Elena was a talented architect herself, with several award-winning designs to her name. She worked hard, stayed humble, and treated everyone with respect. Tonight was supposed to be the happiest night of her life. She was celebrating her engagement to Marcus Thornfield, a handsome businessman she had dated for 2 years. Marcus was 32, with dark hair, blue eyes, and a smile that could charm anyone. He ran a successful investment firm and seemed to adore Elena. He called her his brilliant beauty and told everyone how lucky he was to marry her. The man she thought she knew. Elena looked across the room and saw Marcus talking with a group of investors. He caught her eye and winked, making her heart flutter. They had met at a business conference where Elena was presenting her latest urban development project. Marcus approached her after the presentation, praising her innovative ideas. He asked her to dinner, and she said yes. Their relationship moved quickly but felt natural. Marcus was attentive, thoughtful, and supportive of her career. He encouraged her to take risks with her designs. He celebrated her successes and comforted her during stressful times. When he proposed 6 months ago on a beach at sunset, Elena felt like the luckiest woman alive. She had found love and partnership in one person. Standing beside Marcus was his business partner, David Chen, a quiet man in his 40s who always seemed to be calculating something behind his calm expression. David handled the financial side of Marcus's firm while Marcus managed client relationships. Elena had met David many times and found him polite but distant. He never seemed genuinely warm, but she assumed that was just his personality. The friend who seemed like family. "Elena. You look absolutely stunning," a familiar voice called out. Elena turned to see her best friend Sofia Martinez rushing toward her with open arms. Sofia wore a beautiful silver dress that complemented her dark hair and warm brown eyes. They had been best friends since college, where they both studied architecture. Sofia now worked as Elena's deputy at Hartwell Industries, managing several important projects. Elena hugged Sofia tightly. "I'm so glad you're here. I was starting to feel nervous with all these people." "Nervous? You?" Sofia laughed. "You're the most confident woman I know. But that's what I love about you. Even after everything you've accomplished, you stay real." Sofia had been there through everything, when Elena's father died, when she struggled to take over the company, when she met Marcus. Elena trusted Sofia completely. They shared secrets, dreams, and fears. Sofia was the sister Elena never had. "I need to tell you something," Sofia said, her smile widening. "Your design for the Riverside complex won the International Architecture Award. They announced it today. You're going to be famous, Elena." Elena gasped. "What? Are you serious? Why didn't you tell me earlier? I wanted to surprise you at your engagement party." "You deserve this, Elena. Your talent is finally getting the recognition it deserves." Sofia hugged her again, but something in the embrace felt different. Elena couldn't explain it, but she pushed the feeling aside. The first crack in the perfect picture. As the evening continued, Elena mingled with guests, accepting congratulations on both her engagement and her award. Everyone seemed genuinely happy for her. The mayor was there, along with prominent business leaders, old family friends, and colleagues from Hartwell Industries. Her late father would have been proud to see how she had maintained and grown the company he built. Around 9 o'clock, Elena excused herself to use the restroom. As she walked down the elegant hallway, she realized she had left her phone in the ballroom. She turned back, taking a shortcut through a service corridor that led behind the main event spaces. The hotel staff used these passages to move quickly without disturbing guests. As Elena walked past a closed door marked storage, she heard voices inside. She wouldn't have stopped, but she recognized one of the voices. It was Marcus. She was about to knock when she heard the second voice, Sophia's. "We need to be careful," Sophia was saying. "Elena's smarter than you think. If she suspects anything—" "She doesn't suspect anything," Marcus interrupted, his voice cold and calculating. Elena had never heard him sound like that before. Elena is so in love, she can't see what's right in front of her face. The wedding is in 3 months. Once we're married, I'll have legal access to everything. Hartwell Industries will be mine. Elena's hand froze on the doorknob. Her heart began to pound so hard she thought they might hear it through the door. The conversation that destroyed everything. Sophia laughed, but it wasn't her usual warm laugh. It sounded cruel. "And what about us? Once you're married to Elena, where does that leave our relationship?" "Don't be ridiculous," Marcus said. Elena heard movement, then silence. Were they kissing? Her stomach turned. "You know I love you, Sophia. I never loved Elena. She's just a means to an end. A very wealthy means." "How long have we been planning this?" Sophia asked. "Since before I even met Elena at that conference," Marcus replied. "David researched her for months. We knew she was vulnerable after her father's death, running a company alone, probably desperate for emotional support. I gave her exactly what she needed: romance, encouragement, stability. It was almost too easy." Elena felt like she couldn't breathe. Her legs felt weak. She pressed her back against the wall, hidden in the shadows of the corridor. "And my part?" Sophia asked. "Perfect as always," Marcus said with admiration in his voice. "Being her best friend gave us inside access to everything. You've been feeding me information about the company for 2 years. The contracts, the client lists, the proprietary designs. David has been slowly preparing our own firm to take over Hartwell's biggest accounts." "What about the award she just won?" Sophia asked. Those designs are partially yours anyway," Marcus said dismissively. "You worked on them with her. Once we have control of the company, we'll claim the credit. Elena will be so devastated by our affair and the divorce, she'll probably just disappear from the business world entirely. Broken hearts make people do stupid things." The deepest betrayal revealed. Sophia was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was harder. "I used to feel a little guilty, you know. Elena really thinks I'm her friend. But then I remember how easy everything has always been for her. Rich father, natural talent, everyone loving her. While I worked twice as hard for half the recognition." "Exactly," Marcus agreed. "She was born with everything handed to her. We're just taking what should have been distributed more fairly in the first place. Besides, she'll still have money. We're not going to leave her completely broke. Just significantly less wealthy and no longer in control of her family company." "When do we make our move?" Sophia asked. "Right after the wedding," Marcus said. "I'll have David ready with the legal documents. As her husband, I'll have joint ownership of everything she has. Then we'll start the restructuring process. By the time Elena realizes what's happening, it will be too late. The company will be mine, you'll be my partner in both business and life, and Elena will be yesterday's news." "I can't wait," Sophia said, and Elena heard them kiss again. 3 more months of pretending to be her supportive best friend. "I deserve an acting award." They both laughed. The sound made Elena want to be sick. The decision that changed everything. Elena stood frozen in that corridor for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. Her mind raced through memories, re-examining every moment of the past 2 years. Every smile from Marcus, every supportive word, every romantic gesture, all of it had been a lie. A calculated performance designed to steal everything her father had built. And Sophia, her best friend. The woman she trusted more than anyone in the world. Sophia had been betraying her from the beginning, feeding information to Marcus and David, helping them plan to destroy her. Elena's first instinct was to burst through that door and confront them. She wanted to scream, to cry, to demand answers even though she already had them. She wanted to tell them she knew everything and watch their faces fall. She wanted to see Marcus panic and Sophia beg for forgiveness. But something stopped her. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was a survival instinct she didn't know she had. Whatever it was, Elena realized that confronting them now would be a mistake. If she confronted them, they would just adjust their plan. They would make excuses, maybe even convince her she misheard or misunderstood. Marcus was charming and persuasive. Sophia knew exactly which emotional buttons to push. Together, they might manipulate her into believing some partial truth that would keep their scheme alive. Or worse, they might hurt her. If they were willing to steal her company and destroy her life, what else might they do if they felt cornered? Elena took a deep breath and made a decision that would change everything. She would disappear. Not forever, but long enough to protect herself and figure out how to fight back. If they wanted to play games, she would show them what a real player looked like. The vanishing act. Elena quietly moved away from the storage room door and hurried through the service corridor to the hotel's back exit. Her mind was clear now, focused on what needed to be done. Years of running a successful business had taught her to think strategically under pressure. She flagged down a taxi and went straight to her apartment, a penthouse in downtown that Marcus had a key to. She had maybe an hour before people at the party started looking for her, maybe 2 hours before Marcus came looking for her here. She had to move fast. Elena packed a single suitcase with clothes, important documents, and cash she kept in her safe for emergencies. She grabbed her passport and the external hard drive that contained backups of all her design work. She took her mother's jewelry, not for value but for sentimental reasons. It was all she had left of the woman who died when Elena was 10. Then Elena did something that would make her untraceable. She left her phone on the kitchen counter. She left her laptop open on her desk. She took only one credit card from a separate bank account Marcus didn't know about, an account she had opened years ago with money she had earned from her first architecture job, before she inherited anything from her father. Elena looked around her beautiful apartment one last time. This had been her home, her sanctuary. Now it felt contaminated by Marcus's presence and Sophia's betrayal. She didn't feel sad to leave it. She felt liberated. Before walking out, Elena did one more thing. She left her engagement ring on the kitchen counter next to her phone. No note. No explanation. Just the ring. The search begins. By 10 o'clock, people at the engagement party were asking where Elena had gone. By 10:30, Marcus was calling her phone repeatedly, hearing it ring in her empty apartment but not knowing it was there. By 11, Sophia was pretending to be worried, suggesting maybe Elena felt sick and went home. By midnight, Marcus and David were at Elena's apartment, using Marcus's key to get in. They found her phone, her laptop, her engagement ring. Her closet was partially empty, but most of her things remained. It looked like she had left in a hurry, but why? She heard us, Sophia said, her face pale. Somehow, she must have overheard us talking. This is bad, Marcus. This is really bad. Marcus was pacing, his charming facade completely gone. Now he looked like what he really was, a cold, calculating con artist whose plan had just fallen apart. We need to find her. Without her signature on the marriage license, without legal access to her accounts, we have nothing. Everything we've worked for. What if she goes to the police? Sophia interrupted. What if she tells everyone what we were planning? David, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. She won't go to the police. We didn't actually do anything illegal yet. Planning isn't a crime. But she definitely knows, and she's running. The question is, where would she go? They searched for Elena everywhere. They called her friends, checked with family friends, contacted colleagues. They reported her missing to the police, playing the role of concerned fiancé and worried best friend. They hired a private investigator. They checked her credit cards, her bank accounts, her phone records. But Elena Hartwell had simply vanished into thin air. 3 months later. The police eventually declared Elena a missing person, but with no evidence of foul play and no body, the investigation went cold. Marcus publicly played the devastated fiancé, giving tearful interviews about how he couldn't understand why his beloved Elena had disappeared. Sophia played the loyal best friend, wiping away fake tears as she told reporters how worried she was. Behind closed doors, she and Marcus were panicking. Without Elena, they couldn't access Hartwell Industries. The board of directors had frozen all major decisions until Elena was found or legally declared dead. Marcus and Sophia continued their secret relationship, but the stress was destroying them. They argued constantly about what to do. David kept pushing them to be patient, to wait for Elena to be declared legally dead so they could move forward with alternative plans. But Elena was out there somewhere, watching and waiting. And when she was ready, she would return, not as the naive, trusting woman they had betrayed, but as something much more dangerous. A woman with nothing left to lose and everything to gain. Part 2, The Year of Transformation. A new name, a new life. 1 year after vanishing from her engagement party, Elena Hartwell stood in front of a mirror in a small Seattle apartment and barely recognized herself. Her long blonde hair, which used to fall to her waist, was now cut short in a dark brown pixie cut. She wore simple black-framed glasses even though her vision was perfect. They changed the shape of her face enough that old acquaintances wouldn't immediately recognize her. She had lost 15 pounds from stress and stopped wearing makeup. She dressed in jeans and simple sweaters instead of designer clothes. She wasn't Elena Hartwell anymore. She was Leah Hart, a struggling architect working at a small firm called Cascade Design Studio. The name change was intentional, similar enough that she responded to it naturally, different enough that it wouldn't show up in simple background checks. The apartment was tiny compared to her old penthouse. 1 bedroom, a cramped kitchen, a bathroom with water pressure problems. But it was hers. She had paid for it with cash from her secret account, rented under her new name with fake references that a friend from college had helped her create. Nobody knew where she was. Nobody could find her unless she wanted to be found. Leah, made herself coffee in the small kitchen and looked out the window at the Seattle skyline. The city was gray and rainy, so different from the sunny metropolis she had left behind. That was intentional too. She needed somewhere completely different, somewhere she could think and heal and plan. The past year's journey. The first 3 months after disappearing had been the hardest. Leah had traveled constantly, staying in cheap hotels, always paying cash, never staying anywhere long enough to establish a pattern. She watched news reports about her disappearance on library computers. She saw Marcus crying on television, begging her to come home. She saw Sophia organizing search parties, pretending to be devastated. It made her sick to watch, but she forced herself to see it. She needed to remember what they had done. She needed to keep her anger sharp and focused because anger was what kept her going during those dark early days when she wanted to give up. During those months of hiding, Leah made a plan. She couldn't just stay hidden forever. Eventually, Marcus would have her declared legally dead, and he and Sophia would find a way to take over Hartwell Industries anyway. She needed to rebuild herself first, not just physically but mentally and professionally. 6 months after disappearing, Leah had arrived in Seattle with a new identity and a plan. She found work at Cascade Design Studio, a small architecture firm run by a kind man named James Peterson. James was in his 60s, a brilliant architect who had chosen to run a small firm rather than chase fame and fortune. He valued talent over credentials. Leah had walked into his office with a portfolio of designs she had created under her new name, designs that showed her skill but were different enough in style that they wouldn't be immediately connected to Elena Hartwell's famous work. James hired her on the spot, impressed by her talent and work ethic. Finding real friends. Working at Cascade Design Studio, Leah met two people who would become genuine friends, something she desperately needed after Sophia's betrayal. Maya Chen was a junior architect in her mid-20s, enthusiastic and creative, with an infectious laugh. She befriended Leah immediately, inviting her to lunch on her first day and including her in after-work social events. Maya was genuine in a way Sophia had never been. She shared her own struggles and insecurities freely. She celebrated Lee's successes without jealousy. She offered support without expecting anything in return. Tom Richardson was the firm's structural engineer, a tall man in his early 30s with red hair and an easygoing personality. Tom had a dry sense of humor that made even stressful deadlines bearable. He treated Leah like a respected colleague, never condescending or competitive. He often brought coffee for the whole team and remembered everyone's preferences. These simple kindnesses meant everything to Leah. After being betrayed so completely, she had wondered if she could ever trust anyone again. Maya and Tom showed her that not everyone was like Marcus and Sophia. Some people were exactly who they appeared to be, kind, honest, and loyal. The design that changed everything. 8 months into her new life, James announced that the firm would enter an international architecture competition. The competition was searching for innovative designs for sustainable urban housing, exactly the kind of project Leah excelled at. "I want you to lead this, Leah," James said during a team meeting. "Your designs have been the best work this firm has produced in years. If we win this competition, it could change everything for Cascade Design Studio." Leah hesitated. Entering a high-profile competition meant exposure. It meant her work would be scrutinized by judges and media. Someone might recognize her style, make connections, figure out who she really was. But another part of her was tired of hiding. She was an architect. Designing was her passion, her identity, the thing that made her feel alive. She had already lost so much: her company, her reputation, her old life. She refused to lose her art too. "I'll do it," Leah said. "But I want to enter it anonymously. Just the firm's name, not individual designers listed." James agreed, though he looked disappointed. He was proud of his team and wanted them to get personal recognition. But he respected Lee's request for privacy. For the next 3 months, Leah poured her heart into the competition design. She created a revolutionary concept for modular, sustainable housing that could be adapted to different climates and cultures. The design was beautiful and practical, combining her technical expertise with artistic vision. It was some of her best work ever, better than anything she had created as Elena Hartwell, because now she was designing for love of the craft, not for business or recognition. Maya and Tom helped with different aspects of the project, but the core vision was Lee's. When they finally submitted the design, the whole team felt proud of what they had created. The unexpected victory. 2 months later, James called an emergency team meeting. Everyone gathered in the small conference room, wondering what was happening. James's hands were shaking as he held up his phone. "We won," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Cascade Design Studio won the International Sustainable Architecture Competition. Our design was selected over 500 entries from around the world. The room erupted in celebration. Maya hugged Leah so tightly she could barely breathe. Tom lifted James off the ground in a bear hug. Everyone was laughing and crying at the same time. But as the celebration continued, Leah felt a cold knot form in her stomach. Winning meant exposure. The judges would want to meet the design team. There would be media coverage, interviews, photographs. Her anonymous protection was about to disappear. "There's more," James said, his expression becoming serious. "A major investor named Alexander Reed wants to meet with us. He's interested in funding the actual construction of our design. This could mean everything for the firm. Leah, as the lead designer, he specifically wants to meet you. Lee's mind raced. Alexander Reed. She knew that name. He was a business rival of Marcus, a wealthy real estate developer known for his integrity and his support of innovative architecture. Elena Hartwell had met him briefly at industry events, but they had never worked together. When? Leah asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Next week. In New York. New York. The city where everything had fallen apart. The city where Marcus and Sophia were probably still searching for her, still playing their victim roles, still planning to steal her company. Leah took a deep breath. Maybe it was time to stop running. Maybe it was time to go back. The truth revealed. That night, alone in her apartment, Leah did something she had been avoiding for a year. She searched online for information about what had happened to Hartwell Industries since she disappeared. What she found made her blood boil. 6 months after her disappearance, Marcus had petitioned the court to have Elena Hartwell declared legally dead. He presented evidence of her instability, fake emails he had probably created, statements from concerned friends, likely paid off, and his tearful testimony about how devastated Elena had been in the weeks before she vanished. The court had granted his petition 3 months ago. As her fiancé and named beneficiary in her will, which she had stupidly updated at Marcus's suggestion, he had been granted temporary control of Hartwell Industries pending final estate settlement. Marcus had immediately restructured the company. Sophia was named Chief Operating Officer. David Chen became Chief Financial Officer. Together, they had dismantled everything Elena's father had built. They sold off the most valuable assets, fired loyal employees, and merged several departments with Marcus's investment firm. But the worst part was what they had done to Elena's reputation. News articles described her as troubled, unstable, unable to handle the pressure of running her father's company. Some reports suggested she had been having mental health issues before her disappearance. Marcus gave interviews talking about how he had tried to help her but couldn't save her from herself. They were rewriting history, making Elena look like a tragedy instead of a success story. And because she wasn't there to defend herself, people believed them. Leah felt rage building inside her, not the hot, explosive anger she had felt the night she overheard their conversation, but a cold, calculated fury. They had taken everything from her, her company, her reputation, her identity. They had turned her into a cautionary tale. But they had made one critical mistake. They had declared her dead. An unexpected ally. The next morning, Leah called the number James had given her for Alexander Reed. His assistant answered, professional and efficient. "I'd like to speak with Mr. Reed about the competition," Leah said. "This is Leah Hart from Cascade Design Studio." "Of course, Ms. Hart. Mr. Reed has been hoping to hear from you. I'll transfer you now." A moment later, a man's voice came on the line, deep, confident, but not arrogant. "Ms. Hart, congratulations on your win. Your design is extraordinary. I'd very much like to discuss making it a reality." "Thank you, Mr. Reed," Leah said carefully. "I appreciate your interest. But before we discuss business, I need to tell you something. My real name isn't Leah Hart. It's Elena Hartwell." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. When Alexander Reed spoke again, his voice was different, surprised but not disbelieving. "Elena Hartwell. The heiress who disappeared a year ago. You're supposed to be dead." "I'm very much alive," Leah said. "And I need to tell you everything, about why I disappeared, about what Marcus Thornfield and Sophia Martinez did, about what they're doing to my company right now. But I need to know if I can trust you." Another pause. Then Alexander said something that surprised her. "Elena, I've known Marcus Thornfield for 10 years. I've watched him destroy 3 companies using similar tactics. I suspected he was planning something with Hartwell Industries, but I had no proof and no one to warn. If you're really Elena Hartwell and you're ready to fight back, I'll help you." Not because I want something from you, but because Marcus has hurt too many people and it's time someone stopped him. Leah felt tears prick her eyes, the first tears she had cried in months. Someone believed her. Someone was offering to help without expecting anything in return. Why would you help me? She asked. Because 12 years ago, Marcus destroyed my father's company, Alexander said, his voice hard. My father lost everything. He never recovered. He died 3 years later, and I believe the stress of what Marcus did contributed to his death. I've been waiting for a chance to take Marcus down, but I couldn't do it alone. If you're ready to reclaim what's yours, Elena, I'll stand with you. The plan takes shape. Over the next week, Leah and Alexander spoke every day, sometimes for hours. He flew to Seattle to meet her in person, and Leah found him to be exactly what he seemed, honest, strategic, and deeply committed to stopping Marcus. Alexander was in his late 30s, tall with dark hair graying at the temples. He had the careful eyes of someone who had learned not to trust easily but hadn't become cynical. He treated Leah with respect, never questioning her story or her decisions. Together, they developed a plan. First, Alexander's legal team would gather evidence that Elena was alive and mentally sound. They would prepare documentation proving that the declaration of death was fraudulent. They would file motions to freeze all of Marcus's access to Hartwell Industries assets. Second, they would investigate Marcus and Sophia's actions over the past year, looking for evidence of fraud, embezzlement, or breach of fiduciary duty. Alexander had forensic accountants who specialized in uncovering corporate corruption. Third, and most importantly, they would time Elena's return perfectly. The company's annual shareholders' meeting was scheduled for 1 month from now. That meeting would determine the future direction of Hartwell Industries. Marcus and Sophia would present their plan for the company, expecting rubber stamp approval from the board. Instead, Elena would walk in and reclaim everything they had stolen. Are you ready for this? Alexander asked during their last planning meeting. When you walk into that room, your life will never be private again. Everyone will want to know where you were, why you left, what happened. The media will be relentless. Leah thought about the scared woman who had fled from her engagement party a year ago. That woman was gone. In her place was someone stronger, wiser, and absolutely unwilling to be a victim anymore. I'm ready, she said. It's time to go home. Returning to New York. 2 weeks before the shareholders' meeting, Leah returned to New York. She stayed in a hotel under her new name, keeping her presence secret. Alexander provided her with a security team, not because she was in physical danger, but because Marcus would absolutely try to find her and stop her if he knew she was back. During those 2 weeks, Leah did something important. She visited her father's grave for the first time since his funeral. She stood there in the rain, talking to the headstone like he could hear her. I'm sorry, Dad, she said. I let them take what you built. I trusted the wrong people and I wasn't strong enough to fight back right away. But I'm strong enough now. I'm going to get it back. I'm going to make you proud. She also met with her father's old lawyer, Mr. Harrison, a man in his 70s who had known the Hartwell family for decades. When Leah walked into his office, Mr. Harrison stared at her like he was seeing a ghost. Elena, he whispered. My God, child. Where have you been? Leah told him everything. Mr. Harrison listened with increasing anger, his face reddening as she described Marcus and Sophia's betrayal. I never trusted that man, Mr. Harrison said. But I had no proof, nothing concrete. I tried to warn you before the engagement, but you seemed so happy. He looked at her with regret. I should have tried harder. It's not your fault, Leah said. But I need your help now. Will you stand with me at the shareholders' meeting? I'll do more than that, Mr. Harrison said firmly. I'll make sure that bastard spends the rest of his life in prison. The night before battle. The night before the shareholders' meeting, Leah couldn't sleep. She stood in her hotel room, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Marcus and Sophia were probably celebrating what they thought was their complete victory. They had no idea the trap was about to spring shut around them. Maya and Tom had flown in from Seattle to support her. They sat with her in her hotel room, and for the first time, Leah told them the whole truth about who she was. "I knew there was something different about you," Maya said, wiping tears from her eyes. "But I never imagined." "Elena, you're so brave. What they did to you. What matters is what happens tomorrow," Leah said. "I need to be strong. I need to be perfect." "You don't need to be perfect," Tom said gently. "You just need to be yourself. The real you is more than enough to destroy them." Alexander arrived later that evening for a final strategy meeting. He handed Leah a folder containing all the evidence they had gathered: financial records showing embezzlement, emails proving the affair, documents revealing Marcus's pattern of corporate fraud. "Everything you need is here," Alexander said. "But Elena, remember, this isn't just about revenge. This is about justice. About protecting others from what Marcus and Sophia did to you. Don't let anger make you lose sight of that." Leah looked at the man who had become her unexpected ally. "Thank you, Alexander. For everything. For believing me. For helping me when you had no reason to." He smiled, and for the first time Leah saw warmth in his careful eyes. "I had every reason, Elena. You're an extraordinary woman, and you deserve to have your life back." As Leah prepared for bed, she thought about the woman she had been a year ago, naive, trusting, destroyed by betrayal. And she thought about who she had become, stronger, wiser, ready to fight. Tomorrow, Elena Hartwell would rise from the dead. And nothing would ever be the same. Part 3, The Reckoning. The morning of justice. Elena woke at 5 in the morning on the day of the shareholders' meeting. She hadn't slept more than an hour, but adrenaline coursed through her veins, making her alert and focused. Today was the day she reclaimed everything that had been stolen from her. She dressed carefully, choosing a navy blue power suit that her mother had worn to important business meetings years ago. Elena had kept it in storage, a sentimental item she couldn't bear to part with when she disappeared. Now it felt like armor, connecting her to her mother's strength and her father's legacy. Her short dark hair had grown out slightly over the past few weeks, and she had it styled professionally yesterday. She decided against wearing the glasses. Today, she wanted to be unmistakably Elena Hartwell. She wanted Marcus and Sophia to see exactly who was destroying them. Looking in the mirror, Elena saw a woman transformed not just physically but fundamentally. The naive girl who believed in fairy tale romance was gone. In her place stood a warrior, ready for battle. The gathering storm. The Hartwell Industries headquarters was a gleaming tower of steel and glass in downtown Manhattan, a building her father had commissioned when the company first became truly successful. Elena stood across the street, looking up at it, feeling a complex mix of emotions. This building represented everything she had lost and everything she was about to reclaim. Alexander stood beside her, along with Mr. Harrison and a team of lawyers. Maya and Tom were there too, offering moral support. They all wore serious expressions, understanding the magnitude of what was about to happen. "The meeting starts in 30 minutes, Mr. Harrison said, checking his watch. "They'll begin with financial reports, then Marcus will present his vision for the company's future. That's when we make our move." "I'm ready," Elena said, her voice steady. They entered the building through the main entrance. The security guard at the desk looked up, started to challenge them, then did a double take when he saw Elena. His face went pale. "Miss Hartwell?" he whispered. "But, you're," everyone said. "I'm very much alive, Robert," Elena said, remembering his name. Her father had always taught her to remember the names of everyone who worked for the company, from executives to maintenance staff. "I'll explain everything soon. But right now, I need to get to the executive conference room." Robert nodded, too stunned to do anything else. As they moved toward the elevators, Elena saw other employees stopping, staring, whispering. News of her appearance would spread through the building like wildfire. Good. Let Marcus and Sophia hear she was coming. Let them panic. The confrontation begins. The executive conference room was on the 40th floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Elena paused outside the door, hearing voices inside. The meeting had already begun. She recognized Marcus's voice, smooth and confident. As you can see from the quarterly reports, the restructuring has been challenging but necessary. Elena's vision for the company was admirable but ultimately unsustainable. Under my leadership, we've streamlined operations and positioned Hartwell Industries for long-term profitability. Sophia's voice chimed in. We know this past year has been difficult for everyone. Losing Elena was devastating. But we believe the best way to honor her memory is to ensure the company she loved continues to thrive. Elena felt her jaw clench. They were using her supposed death to justify destroying her father's company. They were pretending to honor her memory while stealing everything she had built. Mr. Harrison looked at her. Ready? Elena nodded. Let's end this. Mr. Harrison opened the door, and Elena walked into the conference room. The moment of shock. The reaction was immediate and spectacular. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Coffee cups froze halfway to mouths. Someone dropped a pen, and in the sudden silence it sounded like a gunshot. Marcus stood at the head of the conference table, tablet in hand, his mouth open in shock. The confident expression he had worn vanished, replaced by pure terror. All color drained from his face, making him look like he had seen a ghost. Because, in a way, he had. Sophia sat 3 seats down, wearing a black dress as if she were still in mourning. When she saw Elena, she actually gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Her eyes widened with disbelief and fear. The 12 board members around the table stared at Elena with varying expressions: shock, confusion, relief, and in some cases, joy. These were people who had worked with her father, who had watched Elena grow up, who had known she was capable even when others doubted. Hello, everyone, Elena said, her voice calm and clear. I apologize for my extended absence. But as you can see, reports of my death were greatly exaggerated. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Mr. Harrison stepped forward, his voice carrying authority. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, allow me to reintroduce you to Elena Hartwell, the rightful owner and CEO of Hartwell Industries. She is very much alive, of sound mind and body, and here to reclaim her position. Marcus found his voice, though it came out strangled. Elena. This is. I don't understand. Where have you been? Everyone thought you were dead. Did you? Elena asked, walking slowly around the table toward him. Or did you just hope I was dead? It would have been so convenient for you if I had actually died, wouldn't it? Then you could have taken everything without ever worrying I might come back. Elena, whatever you think you know, Sophia started, but Elena cut her off with a single look. Don't, Elena said coldly. Don't say my name like we're still friends. Don't pretend you care about me. I heard everything that night, Sophia. Every word you and Marcus said in that storage room at the hotel. I know about your affair. I know about your plan to steal my company. I know everything. The evidence unleashed. Alexander stepped forward, handing documents to each board member. What you're receiving now is a comprehensive report compiled by forensic accountants and legal experts. It details the fraud, embezzlement, and corporate malfeasance committed by Marcus Thornfield and Sophia Martinez over the past year. As board members began reading, their expressions changed from confusion to anger. Page 3 shows how Mr. Thornfield sold company assets to his own investment firm at below-market prices, Alexander continued. Page 7 documents how Ms. Martinez leaked proprietary designs to competitors in exchange for cash payments. Page 12 proves that Elena's supposed mental instability was entirely fabricated: false emails, paid testimonies, forged medical records. Marcus tried to maintain his composure. This is absurd. Elena disappeared without a word. She abandoned the company. We had to make difficult decisions to keep Hartwell Industries afloat. You had to make difficult decisions? Elena's voice rose with controlled anger. Let me tell you about difficult decisions, Marcus. The difficult decision to leave my own engagement party after overhearing my fiancé and my best friend planning to destroy me. The difficult decision to disappear rather than confront you, because I knew you would manipulate your way out of it. The difficult decision to spend a year rebuilding myself while you systematically dismantled everything my father created. She turned to address the board directly. I take responsibility for trusting these people. I take responsibility for being naive enough to believe Marcus loved me and Sophia was my friend. But I won't take responsibility for what they did after I left. They declared me dead not out of concern, but out of greed. They restructured this company not to save it, but to gut it for parts. The truth comes tumbling out. Sophia stood up suddenly, tears streaming down her face. Elena, please. You have to understand. Marcus said you'd be fine. He said you'd still have money. I never wanted to hurt you. I was jealous. You had everything, and I had nothing. You had my trust, Elena said, her voice breaking slightly. You had my friendship, my loyalty, my support. I recommended you for promotions. I celebrated your successes. I trusted you with my company and my secrets. And you repaid that by plotting to destroy me. I'm sorry, Sophia sobbed. I'm so sorry. I'll give it all back. I'll testify against Marcus. Just please. Now you want to turn on him? Elena laughed bitterly. Now that you're caught, suddenly it's all Marcus's fault? You were in that storage room too, Sophia. You laughed about betraying me. You called yourself my friend while stealing from me. Don't try to play the victim now. Marcus, seeing Sophia's collapse, tried a different approach. He straightened his shoulders and addressed the board with false confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, Elena has every right to be angry. But we need to focus on reality. She disappeared for a year without a word. The company needed leadership. Everything I did was legal. Her will named me as beneficiary. The court declared her legally dead following proper procedures. If she had issues with Sophia and me, she should have addressed them before running away. Running away? Elena turned on him. Is that how you're going to spin this? I wasn't running away, Marcus. I was protecting myself from people who had already proven they would do anything for money and power. And as for everything being legal, she pulled out her own phone, pressing play on an audio file. Marcus's voice filled the room, crystal clear. Elena is so in love, she can't see what's right in front of her face. The wedding is in 3 months. Once we're married, I'll have legal access to everything. Hartwell Industries will be mine. Then Sophia's voice, and what about us? Once you're married to Elena, where does that leave our relationship? Marcus, you know I love you, Sophia. I never loved Elena. She's just a means to an end. A very wealthy means. The recording continued, playing their entire conversation from that night. As the board members listened, their expressions hardened. This wasn't speculation or accusation. This was proof. The tables turned completely. When the recording ended, silence filled the room. Then one of the board members, Margaret Wu, who had worked with Elena's father for 30 years, stood up. I've heard enough, Margaret said, her voice shaking with anger. Mr. Thornfield, Ms. Martinez, you are both terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you from the building. You have 1 hour to collect personal items under supervision. Any company property, documents, or files must be returned. Legal proceedings will follow. You can't do this, Marcus said, his composure finally cracking completely. I have contracts. I have rights. You have nothing, Mr. Harrison interrupted. Every contract you signed is void because it was based on fraud. Elena was never legally dead, which means you never had legitimate authority to act on her behalf. Every decision you made, every asset you sold, every change you implemented, all of it can be reversed because it was made under false pretenses. Elena watched Marcus's face as reality sank in. The charming mask was completely gone now. What remained was a desperate man watching his entire scheme collapse around him. "Elena, please," Marcus said, and now he was the one begging. "We can work this out. I'll return everything. Just don't press charges. Think about the media attention, the scandal. Is that really what you want?" Elena walked up to him, close enough that only he could hear her next words. "You took everything from me. My company, my reputation, my ability to trust people. You tried to erase me from existence. And now you want mercy?" She stepped back so everyone could hear. "I'm not interested in mercy, Marcus. I'm interested in justice. You and Sophia will face criminal charges for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. You'll spend years in court, and if there's any justice in this world, you'll spend years in prison. But more importantly, everyone will know what you did. Your reputation, your career, your future, all of it is over. Rebuilding begins." As security escorted Marcus and Sophia from the building, Sophia still crying, Marcus silent and defeated, Elena addressed the board. "I know the past year has been difficult," she said. "I know my absence created chaos and uncertainty. I take responsibility for that. But I'm back now, and I'm ready to work harder than ever to restore this company to what my father built." Margaret Wu spoke up. "Elena, speaking for myself and I think most of the board, we're just relieved you're alive and safe. We never believed the stories about you being unstable. Your father raised you better than that. Welcome home." The other board members echoed her sentiment. They voted unanimously to reinstate Elena as CEO and to begin the process of undoing the damage Marcus and Sophia had caused. Over the following weeks, Elena threw herself into rebuilding Hartwell Industries. It was exhausting work. Marcus had made terrible decisions, selling valuable assets and driving away talented employees. But Elena was determined to restore everything. Alexander Reed proved invaluable during this time. His business expertise and financial resources helped Elena reverse the worst of Marcus's decisions. More importantly, his steady presence and genuine support helped Elena remember that not everyone was like Marcus and Sophia. Some people could be trusted. Maya and Tom returned to Seattle but stayed in touch, calling Elena every week to check on her. Mr. Harrison worked tirelessly to prepare the criminal cases against Marcus and Sophia. Both were facing multiple charges, and early indications suggested plea deals were unlikely. The trial. 6 months after Elena's dramatic return, the trial began. Media coverage was intense, the story had everything. Betrayal, disappearance, dramatic return, corporate corruption, forbidden affairs. Every news outlet wanted to cover it. Elena testified for 2 full days, telling the court everything that had happened. She submitted the recording from the storage room as evidence. She provided financial records, emails, and testimony from former employees who had witnessed Marcus and Sophia's corrupt practices. Sophia's lawyer tried to argue that she had been manipulated by Marcus, that she was as much a victim as Elena. But the prosecution presented emails showing Sophia actively participating in planning and executing the scheme. Her remorse seemed hollow when compared to the evidence of her calculated betrayal. Marcus's defense tried to argue that his actions, while ethically questionable, weren't technically illegal. But the forensic accounting reports proved otherwise. He had embezzled funds, falsified records, and committed fraud on a massive scale. The jury deliberated for 3 days. When they returned, they found both Marcus and Sophia guilty on all counts. Marcus was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Sophia received 8 years. Both were ordered to pay restitution to Hartwell Industries and to Elena personally. When the verdict was read, Elena felt a weight lift from her shoulders. It wasn't satisfaction exactly, she didn't feel happy about anyone going to prison. But she felt vindicated. The truth had come out. Justice had been served. New beginnings. 1 year after her return to New York, Elena stood in the same conference room where she had confronted Marcus and Sophia. But this time, the mood was celebratory. Hartwell Industries had just won 3 major contracts, the company's stock price had recovered to pre-Marcus levels, and employee morale was higher than it had been in years. Alexander Reed was there, having become not just a business associate but a genuine friend, and possibly something more. They had been working closely together, and Elena had started to recognize feelings growing between them. But this time, she was taking things slowly, building trust carefully, making sure everything was real. "You've done an incredible job," Alexander said, standing beside her as they looked out at the city. "Your father would be proud of what you've accomplished." "I had a lot of help," Elena said. "From you, from Mr. Harrison, from people who believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself." "You're the one who had the courage to come back," Alexander pointed out. "You're the one who faced your betrayers and rebuilt everything they destroyed." Elena thought about the frightened woman who had fled from her engagement party 2 years ago. That woman felt like a stranger now. The past 2 years had changed Elena fundamentally. She was stronger, yes, but also more cautious, more aware of people's true natures. But she had also learned something important. Not everyone was like Marcus and Sophia. Real friendship existed, she had found it with Maya and Tom. Real loyalty existed, Mr. Harrison had proven that. And real love might exist too, if she was brave enough to try again. "Alexander," Elena said, turning to face him. "Would you like to have dinner with me? Not a business dinner. A real dinner. A date." Alexander smiled, and Elena saw genuine warmth and happiness in his expression. "I thought you'd never ask. I've been waiting for months, but I wanted to let you set the pace. I know trust is hard for you now." "It is," Elena admitted. "And I'm going to be cautious. I'm going to ask questions and pay attention and protect myself. But I think you might be worth the risk." The final chapter. 2 years after the trial, Elena stood at her father's grave again. But this time, she wasn't alone. Alexander was with her, and so were Maya and Tom, who had relocated to New York to work at Hartwell Industries. Mr. Harrison was there too, along with several employees who had known her father. They were dedicating a new scholarship fund in Robert Hartwell's name, designed to help young architects from disadvantaged backgrounds pursue their dreams. It was Elena's way of honoring her father's legacy and ensuring that future generations would benefit from his success. "Dad," Elena said softly, addressing the headstone. "I know it took me a while, but I did it. I protected what you built. I stood up to people who tried to destroy it. And I'm building something even better now, a company based on integrity, fairness, and genuine care for the people who work there." As they left the cemetery, Elena felt at peace for the first time in years. She had faced betrayal and survived. She had been destroyed and rebuilt herself. She had sought justice and found it. Marcus and Sophia were in prison, paying for their crimes. Her company was thriving. She had real friends and the possibility of real love with Alexander, who had proven his loyalty and integrity time and again. The story that had begun with such heartbreak and betrayal had transformed into something redemptive. Elena wasn't the same naive woman who had trusted too easily. She was stronger, wiser, more careful. But she hadn't become cynical or closed off. She had learned to trust again, just more carefully and with her eyes wide open. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's rebuilding yourself into something stronger than you were before. It's proving that you can't be broken, that you can survive betrayal and come back better. Elena Hartwell had vanished as a victim. She returned as a victor. And that made all the difference. The end. Thank you for reading The Heiress Who Vanished, Her Return Changed Everything. If you enjoyed this story of betrayal, resilience, and ultimate justice, please like, comment, and subscribe to Heart's Reckoning for more emotional stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Every story we share is about the power of the human spirit to overcome adversity, to find justice, and to build a better future from the ashes of betrayal. What did you think of Elena's journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Click the next video to discover another incredible story of revenge, redemption, and unexpected love. Thank you for being part of our community. Your support means everything.